you sure it's recording?
It's recording now, yeah. Come in, join the crew. Okay, so this is a podcast from what was then known as Finding Voices podcast. It still is Finding Voices.
No,
it still is.
Finding Voices podcast is back.
This is.
That is Finding Voices podcast. I think it's episode number 20. Yeah, we're back. We'll be talking about stuttering. Let's do this. I'm Alex. I stutter.
I'm Tom. I stutter. The wind's blowing.
So MPI-2, right? What is
MPI-2. MPI-2 stands for Modified Phonation Intervals. It is a treatment that essentially teaches you to eliminate the short phonations which you utter when you stutter. So when you say, I need to go somewhere, you're saying G, lots of short phonations. But when you're using a long phonation, you go, I need to go somewhere. And what you can't hear, because it's something that is like a very small sound, is that I am making, is that I've learned to speak without the short intervals in between syllables. So, let's say the word pipette. Pipette. There's a space in between the first p and the pet. But when you're using MPI-2, or at least you've been learning MPI-2, there is no space in between, and if there is, you can't hear it from the outside. I mean, you can hear it inside, otherwise you couldn't learn it, but you go pipette, and you might have just been able to hear a very slight that was like joining the two together. So basically you're kind of like, you're making a plaster or a glue in between syllables. Now obviously I can say this in theory, but how do you do it in practice? Well, in practice, you need to be using something called the MPI-2 software or the MPI-2 app, and what it does basically is it will show you on a screen on your iPod or your iPhone, whatever, black dots and red dots. Black dots indicating when you are speaking for a period of time with long phonations, and short and red dots indicating when you're speaking with short phonations. So, and you have to, because in our language, in English, I know that in different languages, so for instance, in speaking in German, German has more short phonation intervals than other languages. So I've been doing a bit of German practice because I want to test myself. So if I say something like ich danke Gott, which is shorter, harder phonations than if I were to say in English, I thank you God, I thank. It's kind of one, I thank you God. There are still short phonations, but it's generally kind of longer, or easier to do longer. Anyway, so on the screen it shows you red for short, black for long, and the objective is to get 24 black long in a minute. Sorry, under 24 red dots a minute will, as the studies have shown, lead you to fluent speech, or will. I say fluent speech. I'm not right now like a fluent speaker. I mean, speaking right now, I sound fluent, but I'm still, because you have to work up, you have to do it at different stress levels. So, for instance, on an interview, doing it to strangers, to people that you find attractive, all these things. I'm not fluent, but I have definitely become a more fluent speaker. Would you be, Alex?
Yeah, dude, you are fluent. You are fluent as fuck. I have
fluent to you.
Yeah, I have two questions.
Okay.
About MRI-2. Question 1. What do I do in a silent block?
That's
Hold
a good
on.
question.
Yeah, so that's question 1. And question 2, how is MRI-2 different from prolongation with a deep and breathy tone?
Very good. These are all very good questions. So the first one, silent blocking. So the MPI-2 isn't something where you can kind of think about it and then initiate it. It is a learned behaviour. So you are rebuilding parts of the brain, essentially. So like after, it takes 2 weeks to get into the first flow. So you have, so the first few days you're just doing the letters of the alphabet. And then you're building up, literally you're working up from the bottom. And so it isn't something where if you were to have a silent block right now, that I'd be able to say to you, Alex, stop and do this. It wouldn't work at all. It's very much a learned one. So you have to do the kind of initiation.
I understand the process of behavioral modification. If I repeat anything a certain period of time and certain amount of times, my behavior can change. But my question, so am I right to cannot do shit about silent blocks? So
it can.
Well, so
you have to work towards
right.
it.
So it tells me to cancel, basically, right?
No.
I mean to stop blocking and to try again, right? No. What does it do?
So it's basically you're working up from the challenges that you have in your life.
So I have to overcome a silent block first, and then I can work on my vocal blocks, right?
There isn't much theory about like if you have this sound that you struggle on, then you need to do this, or if you do this, you need to do that. It's very much like just learn this way of speaking. It's like if you wanted to.
Like why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because it does seem to have the effect of rendering people more fluent than they were before. Seems to. I mean, obviously, like there are those who, like it says on paper, according to the study, that that it has this rate of efficacy. I'm not sure what it is again, like 85%, 90%.
I understand. So the idea here is to teach body, right?
Brain, yeah, the body, yeah.
So when body does it right first, and then it's supposed to translate from physical to mental part, right?
Yes.
Because when we're dealing with the stuttering, it's not only physical, right? I have all those avoidances, all those feelings, blah blah blah, which can translate. So I understand that. Okay, I want to use this technique to be fluent. I can even understand a technical part. So now I want to understand the mental part. It's
sure.
like, does it give me extra self-esteem? Will it work when I'm here and there, or will I have to blame myself later for not doing it right?
No. Simple. No. I'm just going to see we're still recording and we're still doing the angle. I just need to angle it a bit up. Yeah, that's good. It was just like slightly like halfway down your head, I think. So
It's okay, yeah,
it looked good.
Okay, so what's up?
Okay, so mental side. So this is something that when I was talking to the speech therapist who has been teaching me how to use it, he also stutters, but he uses the technique. I was very interested in like, what's the mental side? Is there anything to like think, okay, this is where I want to be in this many years, and have to kind of like self-project myself? None of that. That's something that is kind of up to you. So you can think whichever thoughts you want, but this is just the raw technique. There is no psychological. It's kind of like a chicken and the egg, you know. You think that it's kind of it is the psychology first, and then the body. I think it isn't. I think it's kind of like a mixture of. It's like a mixture of the two. In that, like, it's the in that, like, it has to be mental because you have to have a bit of self-discipline at first, but then it becomes physical, and the physical then reinforces the mental. So you see the benefits that you feel, you see the benefits in the outside world, and you think, yes, in your memory bank, this is worked.
Let me
and it isn't
rephrase.
like the...
Rephrase.
Okay, sure.
So which part of my stuttering those techniques are being directly addressed to? So is it like a physical thing? Like, is my stuttering physical or is my stuttering mental?
It's both.
It's both, right? So okay, so
You have to work on both.
we have to work on both. Here we only have one part which doesn't really explain what it will do to me mentally, and so when I'm in a block, it just asks me to do more work, right?
No. It just says it really is about like how satisfied are you with your speech. So if I said to Ole, my speech therapist, I said I'm not happy with my speech. Oh no, sorry, I'm not happy, or rather, right now I am feeling happy about my speech. I think I'll stop there. I think that'd be fine. Well, not fine, but you'd be like, that's all that we are trying to do. We aren't trying to get you to be fluent, we're just trying to get you to be satisfied. Ultimately, that's what it's really about. It's like, if there's no problem, there's no problem. But most people, and I still would like to have more fluent speech, just because it's just kind of like irritating. So
I have a question. So,
yeah.
The way I define stuttering technique, it's like I have a range to choose from, right? We have so many. So which I can consider technique and which I can consider the trick. For me, right? It's like where I draw this line. So in my case, I found out that I can know for sure what's technique, what's trick. The difference is in intent and in its purpose.
Okay, yes.
So when technique's purpose is to show my stuttering, this is a technique.
Yes.
So whatever I do to show my stuttering, I can call it a technique. Anything I do to hide my stuttering, this is a trick.
Yes, this is true.
So what these MRI techniques, are they trying to show my stuttering or are they trying to hide my stuttering?
I don't think they are trying to hide it or show it, that makes sense. I'm trying to...
I know what they're doing. They're trying to hide my stuttering.
I think they are trying to kind of rip you a new answer.
Well, look, yeah. Let me tell you a story. So,
Okay.
there are levels to the shit.
Okay.
Maybe they are on the right way, I can feel it, but they are not on a level yet. So, let me tell you the story of cancellation and the prolongation. So first appeared those two techniques that worked. I'm not talking about eye contact as addition to it, no. Only those two and how they do with each other. So when I ended up in a block, doesn't matter if it's silent block or vocal block, I do cancellation. So I just stop. What I do after that, I apply prolongation. So as you say, this sounds like a prolongation what you're talking about.
Yes.
And prolongation can be amplified with a deep and breathy tone, right? With the resistant time pressure. With all those additions, it can become even stronger, but not necessary. So the main thing, cancel any block, no pushing through the block, and then applying prolongation. If that shit, if it doesn't work, repeat. So that was how it started. And then it got morphed into something more powerful when those two techniques started to represent something. So what they started to to represent at Maguire program, right? It's not only me stopping. It's also me showing. So now levels are disclosure, and then you can block, and then you apply techniques.
Yes.
Right. So, and when I apply, so what is block release at Maguire? It's a cancellation weaponized on steroids. So instead of just canceling, I can repeat my cancellation to show my stuttering.
Sure.
So and now it becomes a stuttering technique for me because it shows my stuttering. Then it's okay. We're still recording, right?
Yeah, we are.
And then if that is not enough,
This should be doing it. I can't see why it wouldn't do it. That should be it. If you just like...
hold on, yeah. Let me see if it's recording. Yeah, it does.
I think that's enough.
Okay, so if block release not enough, I can go to prolongation now, which also been weaponized. It's not only easy onset, it can be easy onset, it can be exaggerated, like on the first sound, right, you attack it, or it can be just a regular sound, right?
Yeah.
So now I know that my technique, I'm not only making myself vocal technically, I'm also attacking the problems like avoidance, hiding my stuttering, and taking myself too seriously. So when stuttering techniques mimics my stuttering and I'm not afraid of it because I'm doing it, that's a technique. When it's not doing like those two things, maybe it's not there yet. So
Okay.
I think MPI-2 is a good thing. So it's on a stage of a prolongation.
It is similar to prolongation. It is ultimately a variant of prolongation. You're right.
Yeah.
But it is a prolongation that works ultimately.
Of course it works.
To do the job. And also, I should say that it doesn't involve much thinking. That's a big one.
It's the best thing.
Because nobody wants to spend time thinking about stuttering, right? It's just kind of. It takes up too much time to think about how you sound. You want to be speaking about because you want to be thinking about the other person you're speaking to, not about how do I sound all the time. Because then you become very selfish because you're thinking like, oh, how do I sound? Is that the right word? And obviously, the act of speech is it's like in itself a selfish act to a degree, but it is how selfish it is. I suppose actually like a better word would be to say how trapped are you in your own self. And I feel just a lot less trapped overall the more that I've done MPI-2. I have been, so the past year, I've been living in my parents' house in a village in the countryside in Essex, and I came down to London for the first time I think a year today, right now, and I did get a big shock seeing all the tall buildings. It was like very kind of like, oh my god, everything is so big, so quick. There are so many people. I tried to like smile at people on the streets in Oxford Circus, and
all right, so
that was a bit weird. Yeah.
So when you're talking about this worries about my speech,
Yeah.
right? The way I see it is I'm worrying about the image of myself.
Yes, but your
which
image
is not a
informed.
real image of myself, it's a false image of myself,
This is true.
being as a fluent person. So once I start identifying myself with a false image of myself, I'll go stuttering out of control. So those circles of self-actualization, how people see me and how I see myself.
It is true. If you were to use...
I can tell you how people see me People see me as a stuttering person.
Yeah.
All right. So if if I'm worried not to be as fluent as I want to, or basically not being myself, right? That shows as my stuttering. So I'm thinking that it's the way I say my words that makes people think that I stutter. No, it's the way I react.
I think it is a mix of both.
Yeah, a mix of both.
I think it's a mix of both, but I think that's
a
it.
mix of both.
It is. But I think it is very important to think as you do about the whole like self-image being very important, because I do know there is a stuttering researcher, I can't remember his name, who lives in the south of France. Anyway, he did some research about something called the jump, which is like a stuttering technique that he not really invented.
Stop
but
holding back.
not quite. It was kind of like something where he would just be like, every time you approach a block, you need to jump.
Being assertive.
Kind of hop.
It's like speaking on the top of my breath.
Nothing like that. It was just simply just like you approach
Exaggerated.
something. No. It was like literally just jump. It isn't very popular for a reason, because I don't think many people like
dumb.
it or use it. Maybe
Like
it's dumb. I don't know. I didn't.
Let me
use it.
jump.
Yeah. It's a jump
Alex,
higher.
jump. Alex, jump.
I need to jump
Come
higher.
on.
Yeah.
Alex, jump higher. No, dude. Jump
Sadly.
to where? Jump from the bridge?
Well,
That's
he
his
claims,
advice?
He
Okay.
claims that it worked for him. Anyway, but what he did in his 20s was he went to I think it was like a transcendental meditation, one of these Eastern meditation centers, and did it for 3 years, just was in there 24/7. And lo and behold, when you do it for that long, you will eventually reach a stage where you do not have any stutter at all.
So basically has nothing to do with the jump. Right?
But no. The issue was, he was like, I think his result from that was, because I need to exist in the material world to feed my children and clothe them and like basically to pay my bills, I have
Maslow's
to.
basic 4 needs, if those are unresolved, you can't be on the road of self-actualization.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah. If Maslow's basic hierarchy of needs is not met, like go do other things. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, dude, it's just impossible.
But it is in a place like a monastery. It is in a place like a retreat where you are closer to God, or at least what I would personally say
What if
God.
I'm godless? What, I'm
If
lost
you're
now?
godless,
I'm
you are
God-
lost. You are lost. You are lost.
I've vanished.
I'm being serious. Yeah, you are lost.
No, dude,
Not
so-
vanished, but
so-
you are on a way.
So if I'm godless, I have no chance on
No,
in
no,
the
no, no,
stuttering
no, no.
recovery.
That's not
no.
true. That's not true. No.
I'll prove you all wrong.
No, that is far from true. Far from true. But I'm just saying that in some instances, you can, if you were to enter a monastery or enter some kind of retreat, you could reach a level of kind of, I suppose, peacefulness and equanimity that would make you fluent. But then, I think then you would need to ask the question: is that the meaning of my life? I'm just here to become fluent
Dude,
in a little box.
meaning of my life, no, but purpose, yes. So
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
there is a difference.
There is a
Right?
difference.
So meaning of my life or any life is universal.
Mm.
You know, it's like we know only one form of life. Biological of carbon organisms. It's like a form of existence. What
Mm.
life is, and all life is the same. Only one form known, right? So purpose, the meaning of it, it's all one.
Mm.
It's to keep that life going, and then to
Well, that's one take, but
right. So it's the meaning of life resolve check, and now we go to purpose of life. So everyone can have different purpose. Like in the ants community, they have lovers, they have fighters, they have farmers. If you put a farmer being a lover or being a fighter, he will be the most depressed ant ever. So
I don't agree.
maybe, yeah, okay. So anyway, so yeah, stuttering is not a meaning of my life, but it's purpose to get rid of it. Yeah.
I think that's, and that actually interestingly is something where I think I can definitely agree with. I think it is one of the purposes, not the purpose, not the ultimate purpose. I think there are things far more important than stuttering, but it's just that because we are not so wonderful people, I think we are so focused on ourselves.
Speak for yourself.
True, maybe. But like I would think that like because I'm like aware of people who stutter, who do not think it an issue, and they've got really, really bad stutters, and so I think what is about them,
Denial.
or they just think about other people all the time, and they're just like, I don't care about my stutter, it doesn't matter, because they have transcended. Because I think it's because they are so kind of, I think that they are better people. I admit that I am like a far worse person for being concerned about my stutter.
Look, I'm still in a cult, right? So even though I might be godless, but I'm in the church, and
Which
this
church?
is my church, Stuttering Church.
Stuttering Church, okay.
So once I pass my stuttering, I'm not going to stick around.
It is true.
So once if I'm
Well,
still
no,
here,
because you have a kind of responsibility to others, show them the way. Surely you would think that.
Okay.
You would think I can help other people.
okay, I don't have responsibilities toward nobody ever, nothing. So I don't have to take responsibility for nothing.
How about your
Zero.
son, Bruce?
I don't have to. I choose
You don't have to. Yes, you do
No,
choose to.
I don't have to.
It's true.
I can
it's true.
just leave it all, and just go. I really don't have any responsibilities. But
But you make the choice.
Right.
Why?
I make a choice because it's my choices will make me happy, unhappy, right? And I know a few components of happiness.
Yeah.
So it's like components of happiness is being surrounded by people who loves you. To make peace with life and death, to have a skill, to have boundaries, and one of the components is to have a responsibility. So out of I have zero responsibility, but to be happy, I should pick up one or two.
Yeah.
So I choose to, and
How
I know
about-
why I'm doing it. I'm
Sure.
doing,
But the question is, so why would you be happy? What's so great about happiness, as opposed to being content?
All right, I'll tell
Other
you why.
emotions.
Right. So I'm well aware, for noble the truth, life is about suffering. But why life is about suffering is because of this enormous reward of overcoming that suffering. So that
Very
would
true.
make me happy.
Yeah.
I can stay constantly miserable, ill in all the suffering around me, or I can start being addicted to overcoming this and to get this euphoria. So look,
Resurrection.
yes.
Voskresение.
If I have nothing to suffer about, I'll have zero motivation.
Yeah.
I will drink myself to death because my body needs this feeding into this rewarding mechanism of solving it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
See?
I agree with you there. This is very true.
That's why I'm doing it. I mean,
I love stuttering for that reason. And no, honestly, because I wouldn't have actually met you.
Yeah,
Alex,
no thanks.
You know? So
Yeah. I tell you, this is my church. This is where I feel like home. Yeah.
It is true. But then again, there are some things where that is one way of seeing it. Then again, there are moments where I think it's a very, very good argument. Very good. We need the suffering. So how do we increase suffering in the world?
No.
Nuclear holocaust?
All right. So to be in this, to come out with the most beneficial outcome out the whole this fucked up situation is to take on an eightfold path.
Is the Eightfold Path the path of the Buddha?
Yes, eightfold path is like a road to self-actualization, like AO, or it's a stop holding back path. So all these hard things I would normally don't want to experience, but the result of it is so tremendous in its experience itself. So eightfold means to be happy in the suffering. I should walk through that suffering 8 times more than anybody else.
Okay.
So this eightfold path. Yeah, and I think it's like hiding stuttering is not a part of eightfold path.
No, I think
it just deepens the suffering. Suffering wants to motivate more me to do something, so it will give me more shit.
This is I think a good point about kind of need the stuttering. But what if you have something which you have there is something else, a larger piece of suffering, and you want to tackle that suffering, but the stuttering is in the way. I think like that's where improving speaking.
Okay, but now we have to talk about what is what is suffering. I mean stuttering. What is stuttering? Is it the organ in itself, or is it the result of communication disorder? I think stuttering in itself, it's just a reason for my ego to clinch to it and to use that as a false self-defense mechanism around this world of shit I live in.
Yes, I can see this.
Right?
This makes sense, but equally, there is another take that I'd like to say, which is that it is. I was reading earlier in the Bible, in the book of John, the Gospel of John, and the question is put to Jesus about why is there this I think it's like a blind man. How come he's here? Like, who made him blind? Was it his parents? Was it him? And he says it like this was sent by God the Father, the Creator, so that the works of God, they can be rendered. So you can see someone who was blind being made to see. So it's kind of the challenge of stuttering is put there so we can alleviate it, and then at the end of the day, then we can all make love.
Yeah.
That's basically good.
It's like, in a way,
we need the stuttering.
Yeah. In a way, but I can liberate myself out of this fear. For example,
you can do that, or
out of all fears, out of all of it, because all those fears are completely irrational. So let me give you an example of completely irrational fear. Being a bad father, scary as shit, right?
Yes.
It's like, but it's irrational fear because I cannot be a bad father.
Okay.
The way it works, I can be example of what to do, and I can be example of what not to do. And those will be equally beneficial, and it will only depends on the quality of processor of my son's computer, right? So if he's capable of processing bad thing, he must be capable of processing a good thing in an equal manner. If he's not able to process a good thing, how he would recognize a bad thing? See, so it doesn't matter what I do. It's all about his perception on it. So
Well, that would be
my
a
fears would be
subjective
irrational,
statement.
of course.
But, and this is where, so I was someone who used to be, I used to think, the way is to follow the Buddha.
I follow nobody. Fuck Buddha.
That's what he would say. That is the ultimate saying of a Buddhist. Yeah. If you see the Buddha, you must kill the Buddha. Is what
I
the
am
Buddha
Buddha.
said.
I'm right here.
Yeah. This is where.
Follow the way of the Buddha. You were saying. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But I suppose, like, so, in short, you might say that the end point of the Buddha is a kind of intense subjectivism. You could say that it's kind of like there is only no.
No. There is no end. So how it can be end if there is no beginning?
Well, this is where you have in science.
Chicken and the egg, you brought it up earlier, right? So what comes first, do you know?
It is a chicken.
Chicken comes first?
Yeah, it does.
Where chicken comes from?
No. Because okay. So what happens is the egg is hatched. There is a bird, but in the environment, the bird is interacting with the environment, and it changes. It's like my brother and my sister. Both of them have.
It can change in the egg
genes.
too.
It can. But the greatest changes occur outside.
No, they
do.
not.
They do.
It's like I form as a human being in my first 8 months. Okay, this is the most radical
So the answer
changes.
is
From
both chicken and egg.
From one. Yes, now you get that. Right. So how to get that? Exactly, dude. Like which part of my body being born first? It's like arm was born at 5 a.m. and then leg. No, it's not how it works. Either I'm born or I'm not born, right? Okay, I'm being born. But is it really my birth? Not really. I was already human way before that. Right?
What were you human?
So my birth doesn't indicate. So my point, if you take a time out of my birth, chicken and the egg, there were never two things. It's arm and the leg.
Okay,
it's always one.
No, but surely there was a moment when the chicken was conceived, where the sperm met the egg.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So
until that point,
you would think. Hold on.
there was
You
no
would
one.
think that is the point of a birth, but maybe the idea of making that egg was already pre-planned before that. So when one rooster started to check out that chick, right, and she also liked him, maybe that is the birth of me.
Maybe.
You see, so
I see that.
that line goes endless. So I don't have a birth date. How the hell I can die? And one more reason I cannot die, and chicken and the egg is the first law of thermodynamics. It's a conservation of energy. I can burn it, I can explode it, I can cold it, freeze it.
Okay.
Whatever I do with it, it's always there.
This, yeah, I understand this. But here are the issues, and this is where. Okay, so if it is all energy, what's the deal with ethics? When we say this is a good thing, this is a bad thing, this should happen, this shouldn't happen. I think it's maybe you're right to use the Holocaust as like an example, saying to those people, hey, it's just
Wake
energy.
up. Yeah.
It's just energy. It's just like it's all one. Those people, it's fine if they die because these people, they just get reborn infinitely. And if it is like some kind of infinity, then there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow. And if that is so, and if that is so, then what's the reason that you took so long to find the Eightfold Path?
Exactly.
Why is there why is there a time period where you were not in the Eightfold Path and then you were in the Eightfold Path? You clearly weren't one.
Yeah.
You weren't one.
It's in my programming.
Well, that's to take the hard determinist argument that everything's kind of preordained and it's all kind of, everything's like a big machine that we're all kind of under.
Right. So even taking Holocaust, it has nothing to do with the meaning of life. It changes nothing. So
well, it does in a way. It does.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
So if I wouldn't have any kids, that doesn't mean that I cannot be a part of a meaning of life. You see, I can fulfill my meaning of life by being good uncle,
helping others.
So I can maybe it's like do my part on a general thing. So I don't have to reproduce because like a bunch of the kids already there, and maybe it's a good time to conserve some energy, So it's a natural thing, and it also depends on the amount of space. So if I only have I will stop reproducing based on how much space I have around me, not because of my personal choices, but because nature will make me do it. And
well, that's to take the.
They just made experiments with rats already.
I know, and like there is an argument that humans don't have free will, and we are just kind of like acting out a sort of like operating system, and it's all just kind of preordained and determined. But then there's also experiments which show that if you tell people that you have free will, they are more likely to do lots of good deeds. They're more likely to do X, Y, and Z, and feel far more strong enough. That is a lie if you are a hard determinist that believes that it's all a machine. But if that's so, then we need that lie. That's a helpful lie, and we should tell that lie.
What lie again? What lie?
The lie that we have free will, that we are able to do, or to have some degree of control over our lives and make choices that were not preordained by the weather, that were not preordained by X, Y, and Z.
I disagree. I mean, I understand, but living in a lie, it's just not healthy.
Oh, it is healthy.
It's being in the denial. So it's possessing two opposite argument points and hold on to them at the same time. It's called cognitive dissonance, and it's just unhealthy. It gives you cancer and shit.
I disagree. I think those who believe in free will are healthier. And that's again, is health, as in is your physical health the measure that you are using for the purpose of life? You're saying this person who has cancer, they are less purposeful than this person who doesn't have cancer.
No. It's like you have.
How to define health?
It's like you have cancer. Is it natural? And it always is. If you don't have cancer, like why? Because it's how nature works. Well, the thing is that my imagination only go as far as my perspective can go, right? Potentially, right? I don't know. Dude, like, I think the problem with the stuttering is being in denial. You know, it's like I'm in the truther community. I have a truther chat, so I'm trying to take all lies into light. I think all lies are bad.
Okay.
And all white lies, it's a denial.
Okay. So is let's take the idea that there is no beginning and there is no end, and then there is no you and there is no me. It's all, we are non-dual. Okay. Then what's then surely then things like science don't mean anything. So for instance, the discovery of the Big Bang.
What is science?
Science is a way of measuring the objective reality.
Big Bang is a theory, right? It's not a science. I mean, it's a hypothesis.
It's true, but it's a theory which has been...
Yeah, I'll tell you what science is. Like, we have law of nature, which we don't know what's up with them and why it's going on, but they're just going on. So first law of thermodynamics, it's a conservation of energy. Second law of thermodynamics, that cold always attracts to warm. That's it. Fuck knows why, right?
Okay.
So this is law of nature. And then we have laws of science, which are trying to describe with laws of nature with math.
Okay.
You see, but what we have now is when math is being presented as nature, which it's sometimes it can be, but sometimes it cannot be. For example, I cannot have -3 apples in nature.
Okay.
You know, so that only goes in math.
I understand. So basically, you're saying that there are two realities. There's a kind of mathematical world of what do you call it? There is Plato's world of forms, where everything is kind of just like pure number.
Right.
Like 3 is like this kind of perfect essence of 3, and everything that we see around us is ultimately made up of those numbers, but we see it through like a different lens. Much like how on a computer screen, it's all numbers ultimately, it's all zeros and ones, but we see it, but we apply a kind of form to it.
Let me tell you what science is. So it's not only a body of knowledge. It's mostly a scientific method.
Yes, it is a process.
So if I can apply scientific method to anything, you know, and that would bring me closer to science, but it will not be science.
Yeah.
Right? So like in
I see what you mean.
general, yeah, it's
like
both.
saying, trying to think, it's like saying that the brushing my teeth as opposed to brush or something where basically it's like that science is like an action, it's like a verb. It is to do science, you don't science, as in...
Example of bad science is a fluoridation of water supply. This is bad science. Right, fuck it.
What, should we stop?
Yeah, I think we're doing
Yeah.
it was Finding Voices podcast. We are back. Will be rolling. Say no to health passports.
And God bless.
God bless. I'm
God bless.
starting.